This time of year, you see pumpkin in everything. You even see pumpkin flavored coffee. And today I'm going to make a pumpkin bread pudding with a caramel nut sauce. I think you'll like it. Just follow along. It's really easy. It takes a while, but what makes this nice is you can get the bread ready and soak in the morning early, and by that afternoon late you can cook your bread pudding. We're going to begin with 4 large eggs. My son and I was talking about this earlier. In England, they do everything by weight. So whenever you're looking at large eggs, you're looking at an egg that has been weighed and weighs a certain amount. And it's easier when you do things by weight. We measure ours out in cups, whereas they measure theirs out in pounds and ounces, and it makes baking a lot easier because baking sometimes can be very precise. To that I'm going to add 1 cup of granulated sugar. And 2 cans of pumpkin. Now this is just your regular. It is not the one that already has the cinnamon and nutmeg in it, so we will add that to our preference. And each can of pumpkin has just about 1.5 cups. So if you have done your own pie pumpkin, you are looking at 3 cups of pumpkin. I like mixing it up just a little bit between each addition, just because that makes it easier and smoother once you add your bread. Okay, now we're going to add 1 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, which is just one of my favorites. 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. 1/2 teaspoonful of salt. And 1 tablespoonful of vanilla, or 1 teaspoon, excuse me. 1 teaspoon of vanilla. That smells good. Here in my cup I have 1.5 cups of half and half and 1/2 cup of whipping cream. I just can't stay away from that whipping cream. It just makes everything so tasty. Now, as you can see, this is not a really thin concoction. It's kind of thick. I've got that mixed up good. And to that I'm going to add, here's bread that I have cut up into 1-inch chunks. You can use any kind of a bread that is really porous. That way it helps to absorb your liquid and the flavors that you have. This is a baguette. You can use plain French bread, which is what most recipes call for, but the little baguette will do just as well. And that's what I happen to have on hand today. I've cut up one whole baguette. And now I'm just gonna mash that down into the pumpkin mixture. Make sure it's all coated. Okay, I have patted this down to where that all of the bread is coated and underneath the mixture. I'm going to put a piece of plastic wrap over that, put it in the refrigerator, 8 hours. You can leave it up there and as long as 24 hours before we bake it. Okay, our pumpkin mixture has been in the refrigerator now for 8 hours. I have set out these ramekins and I've put them in a cookie sheet with a piece of foil paper there. Now, as long as your ramekins do not touch each other, you are in pretty good shape. You want to give them enough space to where that the heat can circulate around all of your little dishes. And we're going to take just some melted butter and we're going to put that in the bottom of each of these and up the sides. Okay, my ramekins are all greased with just a little butter. And I'm just going to dip down into that and kind of get a generous helping. Put some of that in each bowl. And I want it down in there kind of packed pretty good. We want to fill these ramekins up and let them kind of top out just a little bit there on the top. All right, and I'm going to finish filling these. Okay, we have got our little ramekins filled. We're going to set them in the oven, 350. For 25 to 30 minutes. Okay, it has been 30 minutes and I'm gonna take my bread pudding out of the oven. To check for doneness, take a toothpick and put it down through the center. And if it comes back clean, then we're done. I'm going to let these sit here for about 10 minutes. And while they are cooling, I'm going to make the topping for them. Okay, to my pan, I'm going to add 1/2 cup of butter. And I've cut these up in little 1-inch pieces so that they'll melt faster. And to that I'm going to add 1 cup of packed brown sugar. And to this we're going to add 1 tablespoonful of white corn syrup. Okay, the butter has melted. And now the brown sugar is beginning to melt a little bit in there. You want that nice and smooth, evenly mixed. And when the butter looks like it's pretty well in there and not separated, And that will take probably about 3 to 4 minutes. Nice and thick. And to that we're going to add half a teaspoon of vanilla. Stir that in really good. As you can see, that looks like a nice thick caramel. I'm going to set that aside, and here I have a pan, and I'm just going to put 1 cup of broken pecans in it, and I'm just going to heat them up enough to where that they toast just a little bit. I want to add them to my caramel, but I would rather they were toasted because they don't get so soggy once they're toasted, and they have just a little bit different taste whenever you do that. Okay, the nuts had begun to dry out just a little bit, and you could smell the fragrance of them. I've added them now to the brown sugar mixture, and we're going to put them on top of our pumpkin bread. Just going to choose me a nice little ramekin. Move it to a pretty little plate. Now, it doesn't take very much of this because this is just like pure caramel. I'm going to take 1 nice big spoonful, ladle it over the top, and there we have pumpkin bread pudding.